How many years you spent in the terminal?
I spent about 5 years
5 years.
in the terminal, and that was a very, very good.
If I come into logistics industry, would I get a job? Would I have a career?
Infrastructure, though it is.
Hello, good afternoon, and we're a nice evening on Feb 14th. Happy Valentine's Day and Happy Valentine's Week. Yet again, now we are with one more professional, very senior mariner from Chennai, and I used to call him lovingly Venki, and we used to be colleagues together. He used to be my senior colleague. He was a seasoned sailor, mariner, and he has taken many shapes during last 20 years, 25 years, and he also is now contributing at IIL, sharing his knowledge, what he has acquired last 4 decades of his experience and part of his hobbies and interests. So, Captain Venkatesh, welcome to this. I just realized that today is a Valentine Day.
Yeah, well selected.
It got postponed, right? We've been trying to meet.
Yeah,
And
over the last few months, in fact.
And today is the day, I think. Valentine's
Coincidentally,
Day. So
it's
nice to
thank
meet
you
you on
very
a
much.
Valentine's Day.
Wish you and wish all the viewers a very happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah, our viewers are our students, and then we post it online where audience will see, and maritime community, mariners, logistics.
Yeah.
This is mostly for the world to get to know the perspective, and we want to know that who are all contributing in the education sector, because in India teachers normally don't have that exposure, and they're not being promoted and things like that. So one of the aspects IIL, we think that we should kind of promote.
Great idea.
Entire world should know
Sure.
about all these professionals, because it's a thankless job at the end of the day. In India, teaching is like that.
No, but sometimes it can be very heartening to see the way your students have been able to make progress.
True.
When you know that they've placed themselves, and a small bit of whatever you shared in the class is taken back by them and remembered. So it makes you feel very warm and happy.
So just for the sake of our students and audience and everyone, if you can just give some background of your parents and where you origin, and so who are the creators of Captain Venkatesh?
Wow. That's a very nice way of putting it. Thank you. Thanks, Capt. PK. My parents, most of my education had done up north in Delhi, because my father was in the defense. He retired very senior in the Indian Air Force. So Delhi, and a small part of it was Bangalore. And that is my background. So that's how my Hindi also was much better when I came out to sea, unlike those who had come in from South India who had to start learning their ropes at that time. After that, right through this period when I spent in both the areas, I finished my schooling, immediately joined sea. So I came into joined TS Rajendra, where I graduated, finished off my qualification there as a cadet, and sailed with the Shipping Corporation of India. So I would say the more important was my parents. They were a guiding light for me right throughout.
So if you can share their names.
My father is Air Vice Marshal Rajgopalan. He retired from the Indian Air Force after about 35 years of service. And my mother is Madhavi Rajgopalan, and she is also, I would say to some extent, a professional, but in music. She, in those good old days, had finished her MLit from Madras University.
Wow.
And as of now, she continues to contribute, though she's very ripe in her age, but she contributes to many articles, and she's a musicologist.
Wow.
So that's the background. And the more important thing, which I would say, which has actually made the background to what I am today, is a lot of freedom given to pursue whatever I was passionate about. So that gave me, those days there was traditional ideas of either becoming a lawyer or an engineer or a doctor. But when I thought of this, my initial thought was, why not join the defense like my father? And finally, at the bottom of all this was only one feeling or one theme in my mind. That was, what I learn should be what I qualify in should be what I use in my career.
Yeah, that's important.
So I was very happy. So that's how the marine life.
So your father was in Indian Air Force, you said. Which department he was there?
He was an engineer
in
the aeronautical engineering department. And he finally retired. When he retired, he was a director of signals. So that is the senior most position in that stream of education and occupation.
When I was looking at your CV, I was a bit jealous positively, because my schooling was in Vijayawada and all, two-tier city. But I saw you did part of education both in Bangalore and New Delhi. Starting with Bangalore?
No, I started in Delhi. Okay. I started in Delhi till class 8th.
Okay.
Then 9th, 10th and 11th I did in St. Joseph's. Delhi was in Mount St. Mary's School in Delhi Cantonment. Then 9th, 10th and 11th was in Bangalore, and that was at St. Joseph's European High School as well as Bishop Cotton's. Then I was aligning myself to my father's postings.
Okay.
So I had to come back to Delhi to do my 12th.
Oh.
So it was very difficult because
You're
aligning
shifting
yourself
every 3
to the
years.
syllabus, with the frequent change was very difficult.
Mm.
But somehow I managed and I finished, and finally I'm where I am today.
So +2 you finished in Delhi.
So I finished in Delhi.
Oh, wow. So you're Delhi boy at that time.
Yeah, more of a Delhi boy, I would
That's
say.
it, that's
So my roots are still
Oh.
very
Hey,
strong.
you're
with
not
friends.
at heart, not a Chennai man. Chennai boy.
I'm by virtue of domicile Chennai, I would say,
Okay.
but hard because
Because
a lot
you
of
grew
the
up there.
original years of
The formative years.
the formative years and the years when you start dealing with nice toughies from North India.
Okay.
That was the background.
Yeah, Delhi is quite.
Yeah, they're tough nuts, tough nut.
That's good. That's good.
Right.
So, since you come from defense, your dad is from defense, and you're being in capital, there's the most probabilities that you should have also gone back to defense. How it happened? You landed up in merchant navy.
That's a good question. I think that's exactly what destiny is all about, because I qualified for joining the Air Force,
Wow.
and since I
NDA.
NDA.
Oh.
So this was the 65th batch of NDA.
Wow.
And since I qualified for NDA, I also finished my pilot aptitude. The last minute, somebody came and corrupted my mind and said, why are you going for flying?
Right.
You joined the Merchant Navy. So I was...
The same exam is for Rajendra also?
No, that's a different examination. But what happened at that point of time, I didn't know whether I wanted Rajendra or whether I want to have something. Like one in the hand is better than two in the bush. So I had an NDA in hand. So I just opted for Navy, and sure enough, my final letter came saying, since you're qualified for flying, you can do flying in the Navy.
Okay.
So as a naval aviator. Last minute, I again got deviated, where somebody told me that people leave the Navy and come to the Merchant Navy. So why don't you appear for Rajendra?
Okay.
So 6 months later, I qualified for Rajendra, and then I decided not to join the Navy and join the Merchant Navy. So that is the turn of events, and how destiny holds something different for you.
So you started your training with TS Rajendra.
That's right.
So that's the same vessel as a TS Dufferin, or it was a different vessel? Or
Dufferin was the predecessor,
Oh.
and then it was decommissioned and followed by TS Rajendra. So this was a...
How Rajendra also used to be same at Anchorage during training, or it used to be a little bit...
It had a rudder but no propeller.
Oh,
so it was at either alongside at Ferry Wharf,
okay,
or it would be just off the wharf, at the
so
Anchorage.
you just used to go inside, come out.
That's right. There was a cross island which was very close by, and ship used to be anchored over there, and we had boats which used to be commuting for all the services and the teachers.
How long is the training on board?
So it was a year.
1 year.
1 year of training, followed by 2 years at sea to make it to 3.
So,
But because of the recession, we were forced to do 1 extra year beyond that also.
Okay.
So that was a very difficult time, and that was the time when many of my batchmates left and they joined other services also. Some have become IAS officers, some have become police, and some of them have gone into management. It's like that it was.
So during monsoon, I think Anchorage, Bombay, would have been tough time.
Yeah, it was, but I would say this was a sheltered part of the harbour, so it didn't affect us very much. We were quite comfortable.
Is it a residential program or?
That's right, very much. You stay on board the ship itself for
So you don't come home?
You have breaks
Shore
in between. You do get shore leaves, that's on the Sunday.
Sundays, okay.
Yeah, but you have to be good boys because you're going in your uniform with your haircut, which identifies you anywhere in Mumbai, as well as your tie and shirt. So you have a proper disciplined way of being groomed on the ship, and that was restricted to only Sundays. And there was, I think, 1 or 2 short vacations in between.
So you can go back to your place.
You can go back home and come. But it was a very disciplined, right from 6 o'clock in the morning on the quarterdeck, when you have your fall in and then the bugle is blown, you have your drills, and then you get into class, you have classrooms up to the evening. So everything was a very defined schedule and a lot of discipline, which was ingrained in us right at that stage. So that made a big difference to our outlook at the career. Not a matter of just thinking, oh, it was at sea, you could do what you had, or whatever your opportunities gave. You had to be disciplined and then conduct your career in the best. And we were always seen as diplomats for the country. That is a very, very important thing. That made a lot of difference. So the way you conducted yourself, there was a lot of discipline, as well as a lot of prestige in what you did. So that was the background.
So after 1 year in Rajendra, then where to finish your
Rajendra, I joined the Shipping Corporation of India, and again, I was always looking for experience. As I generally say, knowledge is your godfather. Experience is what takes you right throughout, and that is your best teacher.
Okay.
So I first joined a container ship. Those days it never used to be called because we never had the concept of cellular container.
Cellular.
They were container-oriented general cargo ships, and that was in 1982. Thereafter, I did a general cargo ship, then super tanker, one of those which was called the World Bank tankers,
The crude
for
oil.
about a year, crude oil tanker.
Mhm.
And finally, again, I went back on a container ship. So I had a brief idea of the spectrum of what merchant navy is, both in terms of oil as well as general cargo trades.
Okay. Mhm.
So with this, I finished off, then qualified my
Then you
second
had to come
mates.
back and do some orals at all to get your second mates?
Yeah,
Or
yeah, very much.
We had to get those to second mates?
second mates only.
Okay.
So when you finished your sea time, then you prepared for second mates, finished
Okay.
both your written and your orals. On completion, you normally would have gone back to the company where you were trained, which was shipping corporation. But we had a very long list of on the waiting list that forced us to look at other options, what to do. So same time, the government once again came back with a scheme with second mates. You can appear for Navy. I once again qualified for joining the Navy. The play of destiny has been.
But never joined.
But I did not join because the same time when I got the call, I also got calls from friends saying that the recession has opened up and opportunities on the merchant navy. So I said,
which were the recession years actually?
That was, I would say, from 83 to 85, 86.
I heard even masters were driving taxis in Mumbai and things like that.
I think that's a little bit of an exaggeration. I don't think they would have been mentally prepared. But for sure, people worked at least 1 or 2 grades. We had masters who were also as additional chief mate or as chief mate. That is about what. And that was a thing which was not wrong. At least you had a job, but you had to pass time. But we were at the bottom rung of the ladder to become officers. So the only way was to either look at something else or keep waiting for the tides to take you up through your career. And to some extent, I did that. I just waited on and I was just thinking something might come, and it came very quickly. Okay. So I did not suffer. I suffered about 1.5 to 2 years. Otherwise, I would have finished many of my exams earlier also. But it doesn't matter. That is how it was. I finished that, joined back, but that was with Great Eastern Shipping Company.
And Jesco.
And Jesco was...
Jesco, you joined as a second mate.
I joined as a third mate, and then I was a second mate.
So Jesco, and then you passed through any other ship management companies?
Yes. When I finished Jesco, I had my time for my chief mates examination. I finished my chief mates examination when I was told that there were opportunities in foreign companies.
Okay.
So while my loyalty definitely was for Jesco, it was very tempting because I was told I would get a promotion to a chief mate very soon after that. So I said, I'll give it a try, and I joined Univan Shipping. That time, Univan Ship Management was one of the biggest
largest ship employers.
They had a lot of ships,
True.
A variety of vessels, and opportunities were there. True. And since many of them were older ships, the opportunity for getting experience and getting promotions was faster. One thing I learned was old ships are the ones which give you all the experience. And if you can get the experience, then that is what finally leads you to what you can do as a good captain. Because a good captain he only banks on all the experience he's had over the years. So I joined Univan. I did again a junk tanker, which was a Norwegian 26-year-old tanker. At the end of my contract, I was told if I wanted the promotion, I could take it. So I got the raw end of the stick as far as I saw it, but it was a very good experience. So I decided if I had to take it on, it would be on those terms. So I took it on. So I took the promotion. After 9 months, did 3 months more, established myself. So when I got back for my masters, I already had about 1.5 years experience as a mate also. So I felt it was good.
So how many years at sea?
I finished 21 years at sea.
At sea, 21 years.
Yeah, that's right. And about 7 years as a master.
So that means when you came ashore, you were around early 40s.
Yeah, I was 39.
39. Another 20 years ashore.
Yeah, another 20 years.
What made you to decide that, okay, now I'll stop sailing here and now I'll come ashore? And
that's a very good question.
Because you must be earning in dollars and lakhs, and then coming back to a limited salaries and limited, when you start, especially when we all come ashore as absolute mariners and we have no shore experience, and how?
That's a very good question actually. Once you get used to the sea, the routine of the sea, by and large you're very comfortable. And if you're with the same company, then you can continue over there. You know people. Most important is knowing the people. Many of the fleets also feel that they want to put you back on similar kind of ships. So it's a beaten path. But I think there were 2 things which made the change. One was in the year 2000. I quit at the beginning of 2002. And in 2000, I was sailing with my family. I encountered a deadly storm by the name of Floyd. It was one of the biggest evacuations on the east coast of US. And in that storm, when my family was also on board, we didn't know if we would survive, we would come out of it alive or not.
Oh,
We
they'll
got
say that.
battered very badly. Finally, we came out very successful. Everything went off very well. So
Then-
my wife was after me, and she was very clear that I had spent enough of time. It was time to call it a day because my children were also sailing with me. And then time was getting ripe for them to go to school, so I had to take that call. So that was one. Then in 2002, actually it was in 2001 end. To be precisely, the date is 26/11. Is the first time when I went into the Amazon River. I had an experience of taking a fully loaded tanker into Amazon River all the way from the entrance at Belem to Manaus. That was 3 days of steaming. And I'll never forget that first experience because that was on 26/11 day, on that day. Somewhere it came to my mind and it felt that time had come when a lot of things were changing globally. And I had finished 20 years at sea. So there was no reason to continue because once I got used to, I wouldn't be ready to wet my feet on land with whatever opportunities I get. So that was the decision which I took. And then I decided what came my way, I would take it. And I would not ask questions. I would just not bother about it. Just take it for what it was and start once again climbing up the ladder from the lowermost rung. So that's how it was. So I said, let me take the dive. Let me take this experience and see what happens.
So when you came ashore, what was your first job and how it started? And
the first job was, yes, I was given an opportunity to be the dean of a training academy. So this training academy was here in Chennai. When I started, I didn't know much about training, but I would still say it was a very good opportunity because every time at sea, when I conducted a boat drill or a fire drill, I felt I was giving a lot of instructions and I was interrogative by nature. And I was also able to see people speaking out when they were asked questions and I enjoyed it. So this was the time I said, this was at the Southern Academy of Maritime Studies. So I decided that that was the stepping stone to also learning if I had some skill in teaching. It was an opportunity. So I just used it as an opportunity. It was very good because I'm also proud that some of those students who I managed to mentor and guide got good positions on vessels. They were able to get the placements that they desired when they finished their training. That was ingrained at the back of my mind, but I decided it was a little too early to go in for teaching. Maybe it was just something on my mind or my own perspective of teaching, that I could have something which was more in a more vibrant or I would say in a more demanding role. So from there, opportunities came up with the P&O ports here in Chennai, joined as a superintendent.
That's where we met, in fact. Just to place on record, so he's to my senior colleague there in the terminal, and so we have worked together. One thing I really appreciate and learn from him is that he's a more hands-on man. Like in the ships, we say on the deck. So Venki used to be on the yard all the time and in the port, and was very, very dedicated. So, how many years you spent in the terminal?
I spent about 5 years.
5 years
in the terminal, and that was a very, very good experience because that was the first time getting to into a commercial or into operational role on the shore, trying to integrate whatever I had learned at sea more as principles. Beyond that, it's different. Ship operations different from a terminal. But the bigger advantage was how to manage between machine and man. And that time, CCT was very militant. We had a lot of issues. It was in the teething stages. And there were no container terminals except for Navasheva. There was no other container terminals. So everybody was, as much as the staff try whatever they can to get the best deals, it was the management also try to get the best performance and rev up the name of a terminal because people didn't know what a complete container terminal was like. We did it pretty well. So we were able to work as a cohesive team, 22-23% year-on-year growth. Monopoly. So many things were favorable, which helped me.
So after the terminal, I heard you went into agency, JM Bakshi.
That's right.
How long? You've been a vice president there?
So here I started superintendent, but very quickly I became the head of operations thanks to opportunities where I stuck on and stayed
the
to the
timing is always good.
Yeah, I think I would say I'm blessed. I wouldn't want to put too many feathers in my hat. But the good thing was I thought I had gained enough experience and time was ripe to look for other opportunities. And sure enough, as senior vice president, it was a good opportunity because JM Bakshi was the agency role for all kinds of ships. So from the box business, I would also see the perspective of South India in terms of bulk, in terms of Ro-Ro, passenger vessels, general cargo, project cargo, tankers. So that was an exposure, which was for almost about 6 years with JM Bakshi. And it was very diverse.
5 years in CCTL and 5 years in JM Bakshi.
6 years, yeah.
You decided to quit sailing. You wanted back to be anchored here. So how this jump to Dubai happens?
Well, maybe Lady Luck knocks on your door and you say yes to it. It was, I would say, as I mentioned initially, experience is very important. And I always felt that experience is not a question of only related to opportunities in a location
Okay.
or certain types of trades, but it's also different places.
Yes.
And if there was an international exposure, it would be most beneficial.
Correct.
And where I got selected or I got picked up was for the reason that I had an agency background and shipping background where I had done a diversity of roles.
Correct.
So that put me at a very good position to take on this role.
If I'm not
from
mistaken,
Dubai.
that is Sharaf Group.
It was with the Sharaf Shipping Agency. So it was a wonderful, most thoroughly enjoyable, both from professional perspective and good balance between work-life balance. I was based in Dubai, but I was overseeing 5 different nations in the Red Sea belt.
Okay.
So I had Jordan, Yemen, Sudan, Djibouti, and Ethiopia.
You happen to travel there?
Regularly.
Okay.
That was very, and I'm very particular as, of course, you gave me the compliment of saying hands-on. Nothing works unless you are right there at the seat of action. So periodically I used to keep traveling, and I've done some other exploration also, gone to Eritrea as a new business opportunity, gone to Somaliland.
This is what they call MENA region, Middle East, North African region? No.
A part of it. But actually this does not come under MENA. This is Red Sea, specific to Red Sea. Because MENA will then also encompass some of the Sahara or the Upper Sahara region countries. So this was a different type of exposure.
Okay.
Because you had different nationalities, different rules and regulations under which you had to comply with. And we had agencies for a number of shipping companies, both container, tanker, as well as Ro-Ro. So I thoroughly enjoyed it, and every bit of it was exciting.
Stabilized with the different types of cuisine you get there? Each place is different.
Well, I think being a vegetarian, I didn't have much of a choice.
But you're vegetarian.
But I'm not at all particular about food. I don't fuss around, except that it should be vegetarian. Otherwise, everything which is vegetarian I manage. Unless there's no choice for survival, then I have to eat something else.
One of our colleagues now, I heard Captain Avinash Iyer, he's in Egypt or somewhere.
Yeah, that's right.
He's still with DP World?
He's with DP World as CEO of Sopna Terminal.
Oh, that's good.
So
all Chennai boys are going overseas.
Yeah, I would say Chennai and specific CCT has been the training center for global placements.
Wow.
Because the experience and exposure that we got here, both from man and machine, will be a diversity of experiences for application anywhere else.
True.
One is in terms of equipment utilization. And you had some old equipment in CCT which we had, which was the legacy handed over by the port. Then we had new acquisitions. We had phenomenal appetite for growth of the terminal. We had a monopoly with so much of pressure that we had to somehow adapt and perform to deliver what we needed to. All this put together made it very, very easy for us to say that this would be the terminal where people got experience both in using equipment and doing the best kind of commercial business. So everybody was groomed in that environment. There was a lot of competition amongst operators, amongst everybody else in the terminal itself.
No, I remember,
yeah, that's right. Many of the moves.
I just remembered that if you remember, we had a tsunami situation.
That's right.
And that was, I think, my night shift, and I went off by 6 o'clock. I was not there in the terminal. I missed out all the action. I think you were there. The first shift, I think.
Yeah, I was that time heading the operations.
But you were there.
But I used a two-wheeler to somehow come because the road along the beach was flooded. But somehow I managed to drive on a two-wheeler. The idea was that if I had to abandon, I could have just left that and walked off or run away. I managed and came to the terminal. And the tsunami had already, by about 7:45 in the morning, it had already come over the wharf. We had 6-foot high water, which had pulled back containers, as well as some of the likes, like one of the ships was LBS, Lal Bahadur Shastri, which lost her mooring. Her moorings were broke, and she was adrift. So
all forward will be about 5 and after about 5.
Yeah. She was adrift.
Because
she was brought.
Came and then.
Or I think she was not adrift, but she had just short of coming on the wharf. I stand corrected. Short of coming. She was brought all the way up and then again brought down because it's like a super high tide and then low. So that is how it was. But there was some damage, but minimal damage without anything of serious consequence.
So there was no any human fatalities or nothing.
No, not a single. That was because I must give the credit, and we always say the champion of it is Captain Avinash. Who was the hero of the tsunami, who did a fantastic job by which he was able to evacuate everybody on the cranes. And there was neither a truck driver in the terminal, not a single soul. So there was not even a nail which was lost. Everything was perfectly maneuvered at that time, as well as it was timed in the right way such that he didn't leave anything to chance.
No fatalities at all.
No
I mean,
fatality
which is a
at
good
all.
thing. Only few empty containers went back.
That was
into-
about the maximum.
That's all. That's all.
And a couple of hours, we were back to normal onto operations. It was a very good experience to know that elements, the word tsunami was never known in India.
known in
We only
India.
knew when we were
True,
sailing
true,
at
true.
sea. But this was an opportunity to know what tsunami means and how serious the implications of a tsunami are. So it was very good.
It's a long, that's a once in a lifetime experience, I guess.
Very hopefully once in a lifetime. That was 2004. So 21
So
years.
coming back from Dubai, so once you completed your Dubai stint, then you came back again to
That's
DP
right.
World, I guess. Again,
That's right.
as a CEO.
Yeah, I came to DP World. Actually, I would have stayed back over there in Dubai because it was a very, very enthusing and challenging role. And I enjoyed my job as I've always enjoyed, but that was a different exposure. Now, the difference was that I had certain domestic compulsions because my parents were not keeping well. So I thought if I once get bitten by the Dubai bug, it'll be very difficult to come back at a later point of time. So I didn't have a choice. And I must say there was a largesse on the part of my managers and the owners of Sharaf Shipping who understood my situation and very kind enough to say that despite it being not even 3 years completed, just short of 3 years, they were very understanding and let me come back over here, leave the job on a very short notice. And as it is God's blessings, the opportunity was also here.
Timing is right.
Timing is very important. I think you hit the right word, timing. So that was the time when I came back, and within 3 or 4 days of arrival, I had to join the terminal. So it worked out very well, and I immediately joined.
It's a known place, so you can easily go.
Yeah, and I was very happy about one fact that when I left CCT, that time it was under DP World. When I joined, the earlier stint was P&O Ports, and then it came to DP World. That difference was that they had also sent me for a special training to US. So this was in United States Merchant Marine Academy, which was specially.
How long was this course?
This was 2 semesters, 2 months each, 2 semesters. And it was completely in-house training, which was there. So every bit of it was aligning people and training them to take over the top position as a CEO of the terminal. And I never got an opportunity because I left. I thought time was not right to continue, and I left and joined JM Bakshi. But this was the opportunity for me to come back and use whatever I had on paper to put it on the ground and put it to use. So at least some part of what was invested in me, I was able to give back the organization, which I felt was a lot of gratification and satisfaction.
So that brings you to the stint of your last so-called show job, and then you took a sabbatical to take care of your parents and things like that. You've been contributing here. I mean, it's an immense contribution. And when I get to hear from students how they enjoy your classes on chartering and shipping and all those things, really, I sometimes feel that we are privileged to
thank you.
Receive your knowledge, the students and all that. It's a fantastic thing. How do you see that? What kind of people should fit into shipping? Because everybody today, the issue is when they want to come into logistics or shipping, I feel that the temperament should be there to be there in logistics and shipping. If the temperament is not there, then it's a different issue. So what kind of qualities a person requires? But I'm not talking much in Navy. We have a much in background. We can settle anywhere. But somebody, an youngster who wants to make a career in logistics, what are the qualities needed? What do you feel about that?
The first quality I would say is you should be ready to learn the subject and understand and learn the subject and put it to practical use. Neither being a theoretician helps, or neither saying that I will start off as a boarding agent is required. There are some who have success stories of people who have been boarding agents who have risen all the way up, but you really don't need.
What they call mail boys as the cycle they used to go and
absolute delivery. But that is the role of an institute like this, which gives you the right launching pad where you have people who have experience, and the knowledge which has to be imparted is in a very structured fashion, makes it very easy for people to grab and grasp whatever is being taught over here and putting it to practical use. So that is one of the most important things. You should be willing to put that effort into it. The second thing is, it is not a path of primroses. The job requires a lot of understanding and patience. And at times it could also be an endurance story, because things like in documentation, understanding the nuances, getting to know what the geographies of different countries are and how they impact. All that we are doing, there's nothing which is happening between Chennai and Bangalore or Chennai and Orissa or Bombay. It's happening around the world.
Globally, yeah.
So you have to be very sensitive with your ears open to understand how the dynamics of business happens globally and how you will be a very effective participant in that business. Then the organization is going to see your value and you can also make it very big very quickly. So these are some of the fundamentals, I would say.
They have to be versatile, adaptive.
Adaptive, ready to listen,
flexible,
ready to change the ways things and adapt to the changing patterns which are there. In today's scenario, there can't be a better example of it. The way people would have been changing both in terms of the cargo interests, the destination changes, the way the documentation has been changing, the implication of rules, regulations, customs formalities, the nationalities which are taking on different kinds of businesses because of circumstances. So everything has been changing so dynamically, and we in logistics are completely akin. We have to be akin to it, as well as we have to be very sensitive to the changes. So we are able to go get the best of it and contribute in the best, most professional way. That is.
Venki, do you agree that communication skills are very important to prosper in any industry? What is your opinion?
That is a very, very important skill. So, you highlighted a point which to some extent needs nurturing and training. Because people know their subject. So as a theory perspective, it's very good. When it comes to communications, if they are not able to get it across, either they have everything which remains in them, or what is communicated could be in error, which causes misunderstandings, or it could even be a very expensive error. So these have to be nurtured from time to time. So in our training itself, normally in the class, I encourage a lot of conversation. The minute you have a conversation, people who are a little hesitant to speak will start. And the other is also that they also know where their shortcomings are. And there's nothing lost in the class, because if you make a mistake, it just does not matter. And if each person can be silent to listen to the other's mistake, you can learn out of it. So these are some of the small little threads which will help you in your career. So communication is, of course, very important.
So friends, this is not the end of the conversation with Captain Venkatesh. We will again come back, sit with him, round 2 of our chat with him on this.
Thank you, Captain PK. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.